Okay, Stephanie, so you played a clip on Wednesday that was part of Tucker Carlson's interview with Ted Cruz. And after that, I'm like, okay, I got to listen to this whole episode because I hadn't heard it yet. Did you listen to it?
No, but I've seen various clips now, but they're all coming from Tucker's TikTok page. So those are the clips I'm seeing, and they're so painful to watch. I really can't bring myself to like listen to the whole thing because it's just brutal. It's like Ted Cruz, I don't think he had any idea what he was walking into, but it was clear that Tucker had it set up to where he's just going to destroy him.
It was, it was like brutal is the word. And I listened to it this morning. And like the first 20, 30 minutes, it's like, okay, they're talking about how they're on the same page with like 80% of, topics that they agree on, but there's like the 20% that they don't. And it was 2 hours of the 20%. And it was like a bitch fight almost between the two of them. And I don't know if like I'm not going to say even the word fan. I don't know if I like Ted Cruz. Like I like some of his policies. I don't like others. I don't know if I trust Ted Cruz, but I give him a lot of credit for the way he handled that interview because I have never seen Tucker this like not explosive, but just like almost mean. It was
Yeah. Well, me too. I was thinking the same thing, and I'm thinking, okay, at the end of the day, like this is just gonna make the Republican Party look bad with like all this infighting. And I don't know if I trust Ted Cruz either. I mean, there's things I definitely agree with him on. There's things that I don't. He very well could be part of the uniparty. Like I'm not, you know, canceling that out or anything, but I just I don't feel like it was a conversation, at least not what I saw. It was definitely just like going after him. And I thought it was a bad look because then it gives, the mainstream media all these talking points of like, see, Trump's people are so divided. And Trump was actually asked about that, about his party like fracturing. And they brought up Tucker Carlson, and he did say that Tucker reached out to him personally and apologized because he just went too far. And I do think he went too far. Like it was really hard to listen to.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if you listen to the whole thing, and I love Tucker, I talk about Tucker on this podcast all the time. And I will give him credit for the fact that there was a few times Ted Cruz was like, "No, wait, you're being snarky." And Tucker's like, "Okay, you're right, I am." He's like,
Yeah.
"I have a problem with that. I know. Okay, let's bring it back." And but I mean, they were all over the place. They were, it was the obviously Iran-Israel conflict was the main thing, but it was going into China, it was going into Ukraine, and like Tucker was so accusatory. It was just nuts because they're supposed to be friends, I guess. And like I said, the beginning was like they were on the same page, super cool, and then it just escalated into chaos. That clip you played was literally like three-quarters of the interview was heated like that.
Yeah, there's no way they're still friends after that. Like I don't know how you come back after that, but that's not the first time he's done something like this. Because remember, wasn't it with the Signal chat or something? And he interviewed some guy um, who was basically like talking shit about Pete Hegseth and that whole team. And I'm just like, what are you doing? And then from the perspective of like what's happening on TikTok, there is like this big I don't want to say divide, but a lot of MAGA supporters are like, what the hell is going on with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens? They've like completely, they don't want to have anything to do with her anymore because she's
Does she does she even do politics anymore, or is she just like straight
pretty
up?
much not. Like, so she kind of shifted and started talking about celebrity gossip. So that brought in like a
Mhm.
whole new group of people. But she is like, she will bring up anything that has to do with Israel. She is like very, very, very anti-Israel. And so a lot of people are like, what the heck? Like, we know she used to be a leftist activist. And like, was this whole thing of her being a conservative just like a psyop? Like, was she just trying to gain trust and now she's flipping? But she seems to have very much flipped and she seems to be like anti-Trump, anti-Israel, like all
Wow.
kinds of stuff. So I don't know what's going on with her, but TikTok is not liking it.
You had mentioned something a while back about she was speaking really negatively about RFKJ. And I
Hmm.
went and I listened to that episode. And then I saw a couple of her other episodes. And like, I think we talk conspiracy stuff, but she was in the fucking weeds with
Oh
like
yeah.
crazy shit.
Well, like she came out with that whole series about Macron's wife being
Mhm.
not only a man, but like his biological father. And like she's done a couple things like that. So I don't know. She seems to just be going off the rails and definitely switching from where she was, throughout the whole last, like, I don't even know, like 8 years. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how much further the party gets divided because I think this, if we do go to war with Iran, I think that's going to significantly change the dynamic of the MAGA movement. So
Yeah,
we will see.
I
But
think
I
so
want to
too.
talk about some positive things
Oh,
because,
good.
yeah, it's
I
Friday,
need that
right?
today.
So there are a couple stories that I want to highlight because they made me happy. And one of them is that last night, the Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals ruled that Trump can continue to maintain control of the National Guard troops that he deployed in California, at least for now. It was a unanimous ruling where the judges agreed that Trump likely acted within his statutory authority to federalize the Guard under the Insurrection Act, and they cited the violent protests, including like objects being thrown at federal agents and damage to federal property, as being justification for their ruling. But the key word in all of this seems to be likely, because this is only a temporary ruling while they review the case. And it's basically just a stay of the lower court's ruling, which had initially ordered that Trump give control of the Guard back to Newsom. So Trump celebrated the decision. He posted on Truth Social and said, quote, big win in caps in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on the president's core power to call in the National Guard. The judges obviously realize that Gavin Newsom is incompetent and ill prepared. But this is much bigger than Gavin, because all over the United States, if our cities and our people need protection, we are the ones to give it to them, should state and local police be unable, for whatever reason, to get the job done. This is a great decision for our country, and we will continue to protect and defend law abiding Americans. Congratulations to the Ninth Circuit. America is proud of you tonight. End quote. And I was also proud of that decision. Newsom, on the other hand, was not. And so, of course, he had to bring up the authoritarian narrative again and said that the president is not a king and is not above the law. And he's going to continue to press forward with challenging Trump's authoritarian use of the U.S. military against its citizens. So I think we're going to be seeing a bit more on this issue. But for now, I think this is a positive win.
Have you heard the whole conspiracy on this? Which I don't believe it at all, but it is like something a lot of people are talking about on social media, which is that because of all these global tensions with Israel and Iran and like China and Russia and everything, that having the military over there in California was more of a strategic move. And like this way with the protests, people won't question like why are there military everywhere and these big trucks and all this other stuff, but to have everyone kind of strategically along our coast in case of something happening, which I don't think, because that would mean like they would have had to plan these protests. And I don't know. I think it's very involved if you dive into it, but there's a lot of people that like really think that is why Trump has sent them over there because he's
I
preparing for
love
something.
I love the conspiracies. I really do, but I had not heard that one at all. I mean,
Well, there
again,
you go.
at this point, anything is possible.
True.
So the other really cool thing I saw yesterday was an announcement of an initiative by the National Institute of Health to study the health impact of the 2023 East Palestine train derailment. You and I talked about this at length for like over a year on the podcast. And this was completely mismanaged and then basically shoved under the carpet by the Biden admin. So I'm really happy about this. It's a joint federal initiative supported by HHS Secretary RFKJ, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and VP JD Vance. And this is going to involve a $10 million 5-year research program where I think it's like $2 million allocated per year. And it's going to investigate the long-term health effects on the residents of East Palestine, Ohio. And Bhattacharya emphasized that this entire process is going to be committed to scientific transparency and integrity and trying to rebuild community trust. And it's all going to be conducted independently, and they're going to be accountable to the people of East Palestine. And I hope I'm not being overly optimistic here, but I feel like this is like one of the first things our government is doing to show that they're making Americans a priority and acknowledging federal responsibility for health that the Biden admin clearly neglected.
Yeah, it's just so sad that it's happening now. Like it should have happened in the beginning, obviously. I mean, these poor people, who knows like what long-term effects we're gonna see, but at least they're stepping in and going to do it now. And we'll see if it's transparent. Like we'll know because they'll either be sharing the information and talking about it or not. So we'll see what happens. But I have a good feeling. I think they're gonna try and do the right thing.
Yeah, I really hope so. So we'll definitely keep track of that. So I got to kind of turn to the comedic side, even though this isn't really funny. But I thought this shit was incredibly disturbing and such a like sick and twisted narrative. And I literally don't understand how anyone is still watching The View or how that show is even on the air or how people are clapping in the background. But I don't know if you saw the idiocy of the episode on Wednesday with Whoopi Goldberg comparing being Black in America today in 2025 to living under a brutal regime in Iran. Did you see this?
I did. And I was like, okay, The View, it is done. It is done. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, just like you said, how is anybody watching it anyways? It's got to be state funded. Like they're getting some kind of funding, probably from USAID or something. But yeah, it's unreal.
It is absolutely crazy. I'm going to play this clip in case you guys haven't heard it. But the ladies of The View are having an argument about human rights violations in Iran. And for like several, almost a minute, Whoopi keeps trying to interrupt and like compare it to the Black experience in America. And at first, like nobody's paying attention to her. And then she makes the most insane comparison. So there is some clapping in the background. So if there are pauses, just be patient. You know how it is when we play clips with clapping. Again, I don't understand anyone clapping for The View, but here we go. Oh shit. I hate when my phone does this.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
I had it right there. Okay, stand by. Here it is.
Okay.
Motherfucker. Okay.
It's about its entire existence doesn't mean every terrorist organization known to man. And Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Doesn't mean you can proactively. I'm just saying that these are the people that attacked them. They fund Hamas. I understand why they're doing it. And by the way, let me remind people about Masa Amini, who's an Iranian woman who was killed for miswearing her hijab. Have attacked Israel preemptively.
Understood.
They're a terrorist nation and the biggest.
So
basically,
we do what they do?
No, as I said, the people of Iran have self-determination, and they want the Ayatollah gone. They should do it internally through a democratic process.
I want to say so that I don't get a bunch of hate mail. Criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. Okay, I am criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu. I am criticizing Israel. I am not an anti-Semite, but I under international criminal law, what is happening now is not legal. That's the bottom line.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
The Iranian regime is 2 days. There's nothing compared to United.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot wearing this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto. Killed for
I'm sorry.
I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes.
It is up to them.
That's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good. Whoever does It's not.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black. Not for everybody. Not if you're black.
Guys, do not anyone at this table to Iran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. I know that. And we all know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals. And I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot
talking about the United States. I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That's no one's intent.
Good.
I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country, and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe. They can't go out of their house. Women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try.
There's no way you can make anybody fucking understand.
I mean, I think she completely embarrassed herself and The View. And like, just think about being an Iranian person hearing that. Like, okay, this bitch who has $60 million
Yes.
thinks that she has it worse in America. Okay, Whoopi, if America's that bad and it's worse than Iran, why don't you go fly to Tehran? Go over there and go see for yourself if it's not that bad. I mean, how fucking ridiculous. So I thought,
so tone deaf.
yeah, let's educate Whoopi on this, okay? Whoopi thinks that it is worse here than what Iranian women have to deal with, okay? In Iran, women have to wear the hijab in public. If they don't, they will get arrested, they could face lashings or the death penalty. They have the morality police walking the streets and enforcing this. This is a thing that happens all the time. Women can't become judges. In court, a woman's testimony is worth half that of a man's. Women need a man's permission to travel or get certain jobs. Girls as young as 13 are legally married off with judicial permission, and it can actually be younger than 13 years old in some cases. Here in the US, Whoopi could be openly gay, and she's praised for it. In Iran, being gay is illegal and punishable by death. The government, I didn't know this, the Iranian government uses dating apps and social media to entrap gay people, and then they kill them. Reports of rape, forced conversion therapy, and torture are widespread. Gay men have been publicly hanged, even teenagers. Here in America, Whoopi can bash Donald Trump and nothing happens to her. She does it every day. In Iran, if you speak out against the regime or the supreme leader or the Revolutionary Guard, you will get imprisoned, tortured, or executed. And as we just said, The View is still on air after years of bashing this country and its leader. Yet in Iran, the regime shuts down the internet. They turn it off to suppress communications and evidence of violence, and they highly censor any rhetoric against the regime. They actually did that last week where they shut everything down. And, you know, the thing we've talked a lot about is how the left keeps crying about due process for illegals here in the United States. Well, guess what? In Iran, trials, especially for political prisoners, are a complete joke. They're conducted in revolutionary courts without lawyers or even formal charges, and they force confessions under torture. Iran also has one of the highest execution rates per capita in the world. Public hangings are still a thing, and they're used as fear propaganda. And methods of torture include flogging, rape, solitary confinement, and beatings. So I'm sorry, but like, why the hell would she say that being black in America is worse than being a woman in Iran or being anyone in Iran?
Because she's a completely unhinged, uneducated, wealthy as fuck, elite liberal.
And she does this shit all the time. And then you want to know what? The next episode, she'll real quickly say, "Oh, I have to take back my comments," and okay, let's move on. And it's like not a sincere apology, but it's just like it's so ridiculous that people like this have a show, a national show, where they're just like completely giving wrong information. I mean, that it's just ridiculous.
And I don't know if it came across well in that clip because of the clapping, but did you hear how she tried to interrupt like 6 or 7 times to have her stupid comments heard?
Well, yeah, and she
It's
made
just
it
like,
all about her. Like the
yes.
topic was about what's happening in Iran, and she keeps interjecting and trying to make it about her being black in America. That has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the conversation. And yet,
Yep.
that's what she wanted to talk about. And she's bringing up things that happened decades ago that clearly don't happen anymore in 2025. But I mean, at least the audience clapped on cue when the guy held up the sign saying clap, you know? It's just crazy. But like these leftists are really uneducated on what's happening. They're now protesting on behalf of the terrorists. So the irony of this whole thing is peaceful protests in Iran are met with live ammunition, mass arrests, and torture in detention. Yet protesters here are like literally standing up, not for the Iranian people, but like actually for the Islamic regime, which is insane. So this happened in New York City, June 18th and 19th. There were protests in Bryant Park and Times Square where they were protesting U.S. involvement in the Iran-Israel conflict, which is fine. If you don't want America to get involved, that's fine. But what ended up happening is they are taking the side of the regime. They're chanting slogans like hands off Iran now. They're calling to halt U.S. military and financial aid to Israel. And again, this is not about like America first. This is pro Islamic regime. They are chanting Islamic regime propaganda like burn Tel Aviv to the ground. They sat there in Times Square saying to burn Tel Aviv to the ground. So the organizers are the Bronx Anti-War Coalition, which is dubbed Solidarity with Iran, the Palestinian Youth Movement, which we've seen a lot of, People's Forum, and the Answer Coalition. So, U.S. officials have said Iran's government may attempt to influence protests. And so they have investigations into groups like the Answer Coalition and the People's Forum that have been flagged for financial links to Iran and Hamas and are also being backed by CCP linked financiers like Nabil Singham, which I think that's the guy that Luna was saying needs to go into a congressional hearing and explain himself. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
we
sure.
talked about him like 2 weeks ago when
Yeah.
we were talking about funding for the protests.
Yeah. So they're paying these protests and then giving them the propaganda of the Islamic regime, which is crazy. Like what this is a probably Whoopi's being paid by them too. And what these idiot protesters fail to realize is that the actual Iranian people want the Islamic regime to collapse. Like I'm seeing this all over social media of Iranians who fled throughout the years explaining that their family that's still there, stuck in Iran, they hate the Islamic regime. They are completely oppressed. And I want to play a clip of this woman. She's pretty big on TikTok, but she had fled years ago and she explains like what's going on. She's got a lot of family there. And so just listen to what she has to say about the Islamic regime.
Hey, full-blooded Iranian here, born in Iran, went to school in Iran, fled Iran twice, and was actually arrested by the morality police in 1995 for watching MTV on a VHS cassette, and the music was so loud the neighbors heard and called the Basij on me and my cousins. They separated us in different prisons and they held me captive for 3 days of hell before they informed my family where I was even at. This is Nika Shakarami, 16-year-old who was essayed and unalived by IRGC members for participating in the Women Life Freedom Movement. This is Hadis Najafi. She was unalived for participating in the Women Life Freedom Movement. This is Mohammad Qabalu. The whole world said his name, and they ended up executing him in secret without being able to say goodbye to his family. Who executed him? The Islamic regime occupying Iran. For what? for participating in the Women Life Freedom protest. This is Reza Rasai. He was unalived as well. Execution at 5 a.m. unannounced, didn't get to say goodbye to his family because he participated in the Women Life Freedom movement. Who unalived him? The Islamic regime occupying Iran. This is Khodanur. He is from Zahedan, and he is a minority inside of Iran. His life was taken by the IRGC in the most brutal way that you can imagine. He was participating in the Friday protest after prayer in support of the Women Life Freedom movement. He was shot by IRGC members, dragged, tied to a pole, given water bottle, feet away from where he could reach, and left to die. And let's not forget the Islamic regime is also known for shooting people's eye out for participating in the Women Life Freedom movement. Don't forget the Iranian people and what they have been going through for over 46 years under the rule of the Islamic regime occupying Iran. They are done with this regime. They no longer want them in power. If this regime stays in power, we are going to have more names and more executions. Wait.
Okay, so that's what I'm seeing all over social media is a lot of people like that. And I 100% believe it because my neighbors fled Iran back when the regime took over and have talked about this. Like they do not like this regime. It is brutal. And in that video when she says SA, that's code on TikTok for sexual assault, and then unalived means murdered,
I,
but you can't talk like
yeah.
that on TikTok because you get banned. Um, so there are just tons of videos I could play. That one, she showed images of this, what's happening, and it's horrible. And so the other thing that I saw, and I asked our GPT about it because you never know if you can trust what you see on social media, and it's confirming these things as well, is that inside Iran right now, there's an uprising happening where I guess the economy has been in free fall for a while with inflation topping 40%. They've had widespread energy blackouts, food shortages, extreme poverty, and it's been fueling public outrage like before Israel had gotten involved and done anything. And so last month in May, truck drivers, farmers, bakers, nurses, labor groups, they all initiated this nationwide strike across more than 150 cities and 31 provinces in Iran. And on the heels of the 46th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, residents in like all the major cities, they conducted these rooftop chants echoing anti-regime slogans like death to the dictator and death to Khamenei. I don't know if I said his name right. So anyhow, what I'm seeing is that the people are not with the regime, and it looks like it's kind of crumbling. A lot of people have left, military have left, supposedly. Again, like, how do you verify any of this stuff? Um, but on June 18th, Iran's state television was briefly hacked, and this is confirmed, and I did see the actual video where footage of anti-regime protests along with calls for uprising were beamed into homes across the country. So they interrupted the state media and started calling for the people to rise up. And the Iranian National Broadcasting Authority did confirm this. They blamed Israel, of course, saying that it was cyber attacked by the Zionist enemy. And the operation appears to have been carried out by an Israeli linked cyber group they call themselves Lions Awakening. And I guess this is like a cyber propaganda tactic, which is pretty smart because the Iranian people were already starting to uprise before Israel, came in and started with these strikes. So they're using that to really try to build momentum from within. And according to all these people who have family over there still, they're saying that it's working and people are like uprising. So I don't know.
It reminds me of like watching World War II movies where you have the resistance and then
Yeah.
they interrupt the old broadcasts and like put messages out for the resistance. And like I just hope they're successful with this because we talked last week, not last week, yesterday, whatever it was, Wednesday, about if we are complicit in a regime change, it might not be any better than it is now. And I like I don't even know what I'm trying to say, except I hope the will of the actual Iranian people that they can come together strong enough to overthrow their own government.
I feel so much more optimistic about it today than I did the other day. Because the other day I was like, this is not good. This is going to start a world war. But after seeing all of this, hearing Trump's remarks, which have been kind of all over the place, that's why I didn't really put together a clip because it's just bits and pieces. But it sounds like the regime is very weakened. And I follow all those like flight tracker people on
Mhm.
TikTok that pull up the radar. And I've seen this like a ton of videos on this, but they showed three of the president's planes, Iranian president's planes leaving Tehran. And so they were saying like they're fleeing. They're fleeing and now they're going to try and make a deal with Trump and that a bunch of the military have just like run and people are in the streets. So it just sounds like they're super weakened. Trump said we have complete control over the airspace. And I think they've taken out all of the nuclear sites except for the one that's underground. And the only country in the world that has the equipment to get the bunker that's underground, the nuclear site, is the United States.
Mhm.
So we're kind of like already in it anyway. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, you never know what you can trust because there's so much propaganda, but I do feel a lot better at this point in time.
That was one of the things that Ted Cruz was saying in that interview with Tucker too, was that this is the time to strike because they are at that weak point.
Mhm.
And Tucker was arguing with him about whether we're, complicit in being involved because, we have provided them with equipment. And it just spiraled into this craziness. But he was saying, like, if we don't do something about it now, it's going to be too late. So I don't know. Again, I
Yeah.
don't know what to think about any of this, except you brought up a lot of good points about what the actual Iranian citizens and people are going through. And I think that's stuff that nobody is really talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to educate yourself. I wish Whoopi and the leftists would spend
Mhm.
5 minutes, looking at some of that stuff and maybe they would realize what the Iranian people actually want. And it's very different from the rhetoric that they're spreading.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that 98% of protesters out there have no fucking idea what's really going on.
Yeah.
So, anyway, another thing I want to talk about is you mentioned on Wednesday that Trump had left the G7 summit in Canada like a day before it ended so that he could return to Washington and deal with this escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. And Stephanie, when I read the outcome of the summit last night, I could not help but smirk a little bit because for the first time in years, there is no announcement of continued U.S. commitment on Ukraine. And Canada had apparently drafted like a very strong joint statement condemning condemning Russia and calling for sanctions, just like they do every year at the G7 summit. But Trump objected, and he said the language was too aggressive and that it could compromise America's ability to negotiate with Russia. So Canada had to withdraw the statement. And for the first time, there was no unified declaration on Ukraine. So instead, Canada kind of took Biden's place and they released a separate statement reaffirming their, undying support for Ukraine and pledging 2 billion in aid. But I have to wonder if the other G7 countries were secretly relieved because this is the first time in 4 years that they didn't have to commit more weapons than aid to Ukraine.
Yes. I am smiling so big right now for anyone that's listening and not watching the video. Such good news. I think this is, yeah, it's just, we're not going to keep funding this. And I'm sure Zelensky's crying in his soup right now. Um,
He called it he said diplomacy is now in a state of crisis.
yeah. And you know what's crazy? Like we talked about this in the last episode, is how the world, like not just the US media, but I'm seeing clips from all over the world, how differently they're talking about Trump right now. Like
Mhm.
they're talking about him like a strong leader that, you know, it knows what he's doing and it makes me a little uneasy. I'm like, okay, if they're being nice, like I feel like we should all be on guard, but I just feel like things are really shifting and I do think what's happening in Iran could possibly like define his second term and like how he handles it. And I do think we're going to see all of this support that they've given to Ukraine, meaning like the media and all these other countries. We're going to see that kind of simmer down because now there's a new thing to talk about. And hopefully, they can come up with some kind of an agreement and just close out that freaking war. My God. And if they don't,
If
at least we're
he,
not sending them any more money.
right, if he can put an end to the war in Ukraine and this Israel-Iran conflict, and like that's fucking historical.
Yeah.
Like I especially in the style of today's modern warfare, like that's like Churchill level shit to me if Trump can do that.
Well, and think about it too. Like, where was his first visit overseas? It was to the Middle East. And
Hmm.
had a great meeting with all of them, with
Yeah.
Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, like all of them. They all embraced him. And so that whole region, he kind of got behind him. Iran's like the one that is still, they've got their terrorist groups and everything. So if they could break that up, it really could shift the Middle East, which would shift like the world. And I say that with also knowing the United States has a bad history with saying they're going to do all these great things, and then they go and they screw things up even more, and more terrorist groups are born. So, I don't know what to believe with the whole thing, but again, like I do feel better about it today than I did the other day when I was like literally worried World War III is going to break out. I don't think that's going to happen right now. Okay, so not that big of news considering everything else going on in the world, but yesterday, and this is what I love, like he will post something about Iran and then he'll post something like, look at my poll numbers, or like, look at let's talk about TikTok. So yesterday he started talking about TikTok and he posted, quote, I've just signed the executive order extending the deadline for the TikTok closing for 90 days. September 17th, 2025. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So we got another memo. Um, so for those of you that listened to the episode we did with Reed Reisner, I'm assuming this means his bid was rejected or at least is not being considered right now, which I am not at all surprised that the deadline was extended. And I think it will probably get extended again just because of everything that's happening right now. There's already tensions between the United States and China because of tariffs. And then on top of that, you have this Israel-Iran conflict where the US is allies with Israel, China is allies with Iran. So we really don't need to be adding any more tensions into the mix, especially over a social media platform. So I think that was probably a good decision to extend it, and we don't need to like bring anything else into the matter. So I want to bring up something interesting while we're on this topic. The whole TikTok ban, according to our government, is that China, it's a threat because China could steal our data, right? That's what they keep complaining. Well, guess what? 16 billion with a B login credentials were just stolen from American companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, GitHub, Telegram, VPNs, government portals, and more. 16 billion. So this is like the largest data breach in history, quite possibly. And that means that probably, Tara, your information, my information, everyone's information has been stolen. So, everyone listening, you need to immediately go and change your passwords on Apple, Facebook, and Google. I would just change all your passwords at this point.
Okay, you know what's strange? When did this happen?
Yesterday, I think, or the day before. The news
Okay,
broke
because
yesterday.
I cannot get into my Apple Mail. I have two accounts that I can't get into. I'm literally locked out of them. And you know how it makes you go in and do that, pick all the squares with the buses, and
Hmm.
then it would be like, okay, you're not a robot, and then it would send me another one. And I had to do that like three times. And then it would tell me, oh, you've been locked out. Try again tomorrow. So I literally cannot, for the last 2 days, access my email accounts. And I wonder if that
So,
has anything to do with this.
yeah. Well, the reason that I even like heard about this is because yesterday I got a text message like, here's your Facebook code to log in. Don't give this to anyone. And the only time they send that is when you're trying to change the password. So I'm like, oh, great. Someone's probably in my account right now trying to change the password. So then I saw that this happened. So they're saying to change your passwords, but also if you haven't, enable the multi-factor authentication, which is where if you like want to change anything on your account, you also get either an email or a text message
Mhm.
with a code to verify it's you. So that way if someone tries changing something, you'll get the text message or the email. Um, so it's just, like this has never happened, knock on wood, with my TikTok account, but I've lost count of how many times this has happened with Facebook. So,
Wow.
not that I'm a big fan of TikTok at this point, but it's just the whole data leak thing is a joke. It's like it's happening left and right with American companies. It's out there. They can get our data.
I
And
want somebody to admit that that narrative is bullshit
I
because
know
it
they're
has
never
been
going
from day
to.
one. I
Yeah,
know.
they're never going to because that's the only narrative that actually gives them the power to try and do what they're doing. And which is why they're just going to keep extending it. Like, I don't think TikTok is going to give in anytime soon. And it's just a little ridiculous at this point. Okay, let's shift to something fun. I need some conspiracy in my life right now because this Iran stuff has been like weighing on me. I've just been stressed. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So we're gonna go into a conspiracy, but it's not actually a conspiracy. It's more evidence about a longstanding conspiracy around Area 51, which we've all heard of. Everyone knows the story of Area 51. Well, there's new evidence suggesting that Area 51 lore was a psyop, a deliberate psyop by our government to conceal secret military programs, and it's not alien activity at all. So, the Wall Street Journal put out a review that was backed by the Pentagon. So, is it propaganda? Is it real? I don't know. But it revealed that during the Cold War, defense officials used UFO rumors as a smokescreen. And in the 1980s, an Air Force colonel handed out doctored flying saucer photos near Area 51 to hide the real purpose of what they're doing out there, which is testing stealth weapons like the F-117 Nighthawk to deliberately mislead both the public and Soviet intelligence. So, remember how we did a few episodes where we were talking about the Department of Defense's Aero office, the AARO, and they've had like all these different UAP congressional hearings. Well, they discovered that new recruits were given mock briefings about a fictional Yankee Blue alien investigation unit, which was basically just a psychological ploy to sow confusion. And that just ended in 2023. So this has been going on all these years, complete fake UFO alien information that was intentionally supposed to mislead the public. So the 1967 UFO sighting over a nuclear silo was debunked. It turns out it was actually an EMP test, and participants were told it was UFO to obscure its true purpose. So all of these Area 51 UFO alien stories were fake, according to this report. It was a whole psyop, and it was all put in place to camouflage classified weapons development.
So they were doing EMP testing in the 60s?
I guess. Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even know they had that capability back then.
Right. And that's where, when we hear these like insiders that are saying that they're 30 years ahead of where we are in our military, I believe it. And that's why I think that all this AI stuff, the military's probably had access to for at least 30 years. So, my whole question is if Area 51 was a lie to hide these black ops military, the military industrial complex, basically, then wouldn't it just be smart for us to assume that all these UAP hearings are lies too? They are actual distractions, like we've been saying, and maybe they're doing all of this at this point in time because they're trying to distract us from some other big military black ops thing that's happening right now. That's my guess. I don't know.
I think like my official tagline these days is I believe nothing that our
Yeah,
government tells us at this point.
I know.
And I feel like these revelations about Area 51, this is like the ultimate disinformation propaganda campaign because this has been ongoing for how many years? Like 50 years?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely insane. Our military faked alien investigations for decades, and at the same time, we're trying to hide evidence of alien phenomena. Like, it doesn't even make sense. They're two totally opposite narratives.
It doesn't make sense, but it does because in these UAP hearings, all of these congressmen are like, okay, so you're telling us that we don't have a UFO UAP program. So then where's all the money been going? Because they've
Yeah.
gotten billions of dollars. Well, it's been going to these secret weapons projects and they're just masking it under like UFO UAP so that they don't have to answer questions about whatever the hell they are developing behind the scenes with no congressional oversight.
That's why I wonder when, you have like the Pentagon, the Aero officials, the whistleblowers, the military, they're all testifying under oath about shit like UAPs and alien sightings and unidentifiable technology. Are they actually seeing this stuff and thinking that they're testifying to something real, or are they being paid to make up bullshit in these hearings? Like
Well, all
it's
the people in the hearings, like none of them have seen anything themselves. None of them. And that's one of the big things people are saying. They're like, every single one of these whistleblowers, they haven't seen it with their own eyes. They just are hearing about it through other people. And so it like if they haven't actually seen it, yeah, that makes sense. But then the other side of things is like, what if they're saying all this to kind of scare like Iran, China, Russia by saying like we have shit you can't even fathom that we're developing out in the desert and it's not aliens, it's like some kind of weapon. We're not going to say what. I mean, who knows? Who knows what to believe at this point?
I
We're
mean, it's
lied
still,
to.
yeah, but it goes back to those cryptic comments from Trump like months ago about our capabilities
Yes.
that like nobody fucking knows about.
Yeah.
So, what
And
are
it
they
would make
doing?
sense. Like Elon Musk is asked all the time. Stephen Greer, who like does actually believe in UAPs and UFOs, but both of them say the stuff that we see is our own military. It's stuff that we just don't realize our military has. And they both were contractors working with the military, so they would know and this would make sense.
But what about things that are happening in the rest of the world? Because remember, we talked about the unidentifiable metallic sphere called the Bugosphere that was
Hmm.
recovered in Colombia a couple months ago. And everything that I read was saying that this technology is like nothing we've ever seen before. It was totally complex. It was seamless layering of the metal with like no welds, nothing. The strange inscriptions, and then all these microspheres inside. And it's reportedly made of technology that humans don't possess. Well, a second one of these spheres was spotted and caught on film last week near the same place. And then another one was spotted in Mexico. And once again, it's got this strange, zigzag pattern that defies conventional aircraft. And it emits this electromagnetic field and it seems to have anti-gravity capabilities. So, again, this is over Colombia, not in the United States. We hear about this shit all over the world. Is there actual alien technology? Is it just a government psyop? Are all the governments like coordinating together? Like, I don't know. And I asked our GPT if this sphere could be man-made, and it said that the sphere's self-reconfiguring metals that change density under electromagnetic pressure aren't yet in the public domain, and that current 3D printers can't layer spheres with internal microorbs suspended in a matrix, especially not with the isotopic purity that this sphere has. And the embedded chips that are in the sphere aren't registered or known to any global manufacturers. So it either would have to be legitimately alien technology or some like serious deep level black ops shit. And again, I don't trust the reality, like period. Like I really think we're just living in a fucking matrix.
I think so too. And I just go back to, the Pentagon has never passed an audit. There have been
Mhm.
trillions of dollars that have gone missing multiple times. It has to go somewhere. And if, let's say, they did get AI even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, or 15 or 30, it would have achieved super intelligence by now and could probably build shit like this. So,
Yeah.
but I don't discredit, like, I do think that there could be these, what they're calling interdimensional beings. I think there's so much that we don't understand as human beings about our world. Um, but I also think that, yeah, our government could have this that everyone is unaware of because they've had this technology for decades. And I mean, just look at how much things are improving with AI. They could have quantum computers in the military that are already built that we're just now like learning is even possible. They could have had that built 10, 15 years ago. Like there's no telling what's going on down there
Yeah.
underground
Yeah,
in the
it's
desert.
crazy in the desert, right? And everywhere else under the sea in the fucking Arctic. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what this whole treaty in Antarctica is about. They're like building these crazy ass weapons. I don't know. I
My
don't know.
God.
But at least that's
Okay.
something a little more fun we can think about. Because I just, the war thing, it really wears on me. I can't, I'm too fragile for this.
Well, now I have to go spend the rest of my afternoon trying to figure out how to change all my passwords for everything.
Yes. Yeah. Go do that. Make sure you have the two-factor thing
Yeah.
and just check your accounts. I mean, I hate that we have to worry about this stuff, but it's a
Check the
good
accounts that I
reminder.
can't even log into. Okay. If
Oh, I
anyone
know.
knows
When
how
I
to do
changed
that.
mine, it was like the last time this password was changed was 2012. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm long overdue.
exactly. All
All
right.
right. Well,
Well,
everyone, go change your passwords while you're thinking about it. And we'll, keep you posted on everything going on in the world. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.